And welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls, and I am your host. And I am telling you, I've got a dude on today that you're going to love this dude. He's got an unbelievable story. So, hey, I want to welcome my new friend, Adam Meredith, to the show. Adam, welcome.
Ken, thanks for having me, dude. I'm happy to be here.
Dude, I'm excited, man. I've got hey, there's Jeff Hart, Zig Ziglar certified coach on the line with us. That's awesome.
Right on.
So listen, man. I've been I've been through a lot of crap in life myself, but I've also been very blessed. And so about a year and a half ago, I thought, I'm gonna start a show where I get other people to come on and tell their stories and how they hit those walls and got through it and overcame it, and I know you got a story, man.
Yeah, we all do, don't we? We all have stories. I mean, trials and tribulations for sure.
That's right. That's right. So let's start with, you telling everybody where you were born and raised.
And I'm born and raised here in Missouri. Come from like backwoods Missouri, dude. Like literally, it's kind of weird to think about because like your story is just your story, right? I mean, your life is your life. You don't ever really think about it too much. But yeah, man. So like I come from a real small town in Missouri. It's actually called Potosi, kind of dirt woods, dirt roads, backwoods Missouri. I spent a lot of time on my grandmother's farm. And then whenever I was 12 or 11-ish, around there, like in sixth grade, I moved to Jefferson City. My mom married my stepdad, who, I mean, that guy, he's my dad as far as I'm concerned. He raised me for all these years, and moved to Jeff City and kind of grew up there. And then from there, transitioned from high school, did athletics, wrestling and football and different things. Wrestling took me to St. Louis, which is where I am now. In 2006, I went to Lindenwood University on a wrestling scholarship, and just kind of after I stopped wrestling, I guess I was 19 or 20 after my freshman year. That's kind of when I transitioned into MMA, and kind of been walking that journey ever since, here in kind of living here in St. Louis.
So I don't think I didn't. Well, in the title of this, I put that you're an MMA fighter. So I told you when we got on here, I'm like, remind me to never get on your bad side.
Yeah,
like I don't ever want to get on your bad side. But
I'm not even a violent person. That's the thing. I don't even like conflict. Isn't that weird? I'm not a very like conflict driven person, but I fought for 9-10 years.
That's crazy. When I was a teenager, we used to get into these little scraps. The only fight I ever like really lost bad was to a wrestler.
Yeah, man. Take people down, you can control the whole situation.
Oh yeah. So growing up, like you said you grew up in a backwoods part of Missouri. Like what was it like? Farm? Was it a farm or what kind of situation did you have there?
Yeah, man. So I mean, my family, we didn't come from a lot of money. It was very, I guess if I really think about it, we were probably lower middle class at best, probably lower class for real. Spent a lot of time with my grandmother on her farm, and I had some uncles and an aunt. And my mom, she was very young when she had me. So she had me a month before her 18th birthday, and just kind of that young teenage mom. She did everything she could to support me, and she always did her best. But we never really had a lot. In fact, I can actually remember, and this has always stuck with me. Like whenever I was younger with my mom, there's definitely a time where like we didn't have a whole lot, and I can remember like sleeping in our car some nights. So it didn't come from a whole lot. You know what I mean? Just blue collar, just hardworking people. Just kind of always earned everything that you had. And so like for me as a kid, like moving from a town where like I think in Potosi maybe there's like I don't know, maybe like 2,000 people, maybe, like in a very rural area, spread out.
Right.
And moving to Jefferson City, which I think only has like maybe like 50,000 people.
Yeah.
To me at the time, that was just the biggest mind blowing experience ever. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like the big city. I mean, I had been to St. Louis a whole bunch because it's only like 60 miles south of here, St. Louis.
Yeah.
But just, living in the big city at the time was a very like life-changing experience.
Right. Right. Felt like your first trip to New York or something, right?
Right. Yeah. And then now with perspective, it's like, oh, that place isn't very big.
Yeah, it's a little town.
Right.
So I, and again, I can relate to the being poor, growing up being poor. I totally can relate to that. So as a kid, I mean, did you find yourself, trying to figure out how to make money and for you on your own? And I mean, did you work young, or how did that go down?
Yeah, man, I've always been very like entrepreneurial driven. I can remember the very first time, like the whole concept of like making money and selling things kind of hit me. I had to have been like 4 or 5 or something. I was like, all right, I'm gonna have a yard sale, because that's kind of
Yeah.
what I saw when like took all my toys and went on my front porch and set them out there and tried to sell them. Like nobody came and bought anything, but it was like my first kind of like go around. Like that's what I'm gonna try to do, is like earn money. So
Yeah.
I mean, I've done a lot. I started actually working. Like I had my first job at 15. But before then, me and my best friend and I, we would, hit the neighborhood and, knock on doors and, shovel snow and rake leaves. And I had my own like lawn mowing business. So I've always been, always out there kind of like knocking on doors and
Yeah.
hustling and just trying to earn that dollar.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever bale hay?
I helped my uncle. Yeah, I did help
Yeah.
my uncle summer bale some hay. It's just not
Dude,
easy.
I think every 15-year-old kid on planet Earth needs to go work on a farm and bale hay for one summer.
Oh, dude, it's brutal work. It's hot out there. It's here in Missouri. It's humid.
Right.
Yeah. It's you'll learn a lot of good lessons for sure. Teach you hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. Like one time I did it wearing shorts. You don't want to ever do that.
Yeah, you
Never.
get all scratched up, dude. You gotta,
Oh,
yeah. There's a reason why they're out there in like long sleeves and
yeah.
jeans and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you'd think you'd be hot, but it's like the necessary thing to wear.
But it teaches you, growing up like that, it teaches you, number one, responsibility. Number two, it teaches you hard work ethic. Like,
Yeah, dude. I mean, the biggest thing that I've learned just coming from, such hard workers is just that like you have to put in the work, and there's no
right.
excuses. You find a way, especially the best thing about growing up poor is like you have to become resourceful.
Yep.
Nothing, you don't have money just to go buy everything, and you don't have everything given to you. So you have to like figure it out. And it takes long hours and it takes hard work. But I mean, if you have the patience and you understand like this just is the process, I mean, you just have a perspective that you can really do anything. You just have to figure out the way to do it.
Right. Right. So you grew up, you went to school there, or high school, all that. And then you ended up, coming or going to college, you said, on a wrestling scholarship.
Yeah.
And did you go all the way through?
No, that was actually pretty short-lived for me. I had my son whenever I was 20 years old, so going into my freshman or my sophomore year of college.
Okay.
And so I just made the choice to work full time and to go to school full time. And because I missed wrestling and I missed competing, that is what kind of took me towards that path of going into fighting and jiu-jitsu. I just missed competition, and I just missed that physicality, like that aspect of just kind of that my life, because it's been part of my life for so long, just physical sports. So I wanted to find that outlet again, and that's what kind of took me down that path of finding jiu-jitsu and fighting. I mean, I was a fan of fighting in high school, but I never thought I would do it.
Right.
And once I stopped, I was like, man, I need to compete. And I've always wanted to, I never wanted to have just like an average life. I didn't want to just be that go to the 9 to 5 thing. It just never, I tried to do that, and it made me very miserable.
Yeah.
And it's just not what I ever saw for myself. And growing up, to me, like, I thought for sure I was going to be like a professional athlete and go to the NFL. Like, I quickly realized, like, you got to be a giant for that sport. And I am not a giant, sir. Not I. So, but I took to wrestling, like a fish to water, and just came so naturally. So kind of that combat sports path was just so alluring to me, because I was like, man, I can still build this exceptional life doing professional sports, and I have complete control over it. Like, it's not the team sport thing. Like, team sports are cool, but I'm a much more like individual sport kind of guy. And I just saw opportunity, and I'm like, man, I gotta give everything to this.
And you're not a violent person.
No, I mean, I had. When you're young, man, you're full of testosterone. I mean, I had a fight or two as a young man for sure, but no, really, I'm not, man. For me, it was the ultimate test. I mean, controlling another human being, and like, what I'd say, imposing your will and asserting your dominance. To me, like, that was just, it's ultimate chess in there. I mean, there are dire consequences for sure, but there's just no feeling like whenever you get your hand raised after the end of a fight. Just the consequences are so high. For me, man, like, for a lot of years, I thought I was an adrenaline junkie, but I quickly realized, like, I'm a flow junkie. You just slip into the state. Some people call it like getting in the zone. You just slip in this flow state, man, and everything's just clicking and working, and you're not thinking. And it's a great feeling, man. So I was just always chasing that feeling, man, that next high of winning.
Wow. So you decided, you left college. Now, did you leave college and get like a job somewhere, or you?
No, I didn't leave college. I just stopped wrestling. Yeah. So. Yeah, man. So I didn't leave college. I stayed in school.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I still worked. I did like 18 hours a semester, because what they don't tell you in school is if you take a full-time schedule, which is like 12 hours or something, you're going to graduate in like 5.5 years. So I like bumped up to like the max amount of hours I could, so that way I could still graduate in 4 years. So I was, going to school full time. I was working full time. I, just had the new kid. I was training for fighting. I was still doing it all. Like, quitting school at the time for me just wasn't an option. And actually, in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have.
Yeah.
But hindsight's 2020, dude.
Yeah. I've mentioned it before. I didn't even graduate high school, man, but I've had a lot of college graduates work for me. So
yeah, man. I mean, formal education does not equal education. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, I don't like, look, if you're going to go into, you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, something that's like requires that, high level. But I know a lot of people that are in college, they come out with a business degree.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but
you can learn business by doing it.
Yeah, you're still going to get your ass kicked in business with a degree or without.
You really are. Yeah, you really are. That's kind of like the insight that I gained afterwards. I'm like, man, you get this debt for the most part. Some people have a ton. Like, I got off pretty well, because once you have a kid, you actually get quite a bit more government assistance as far as paying for school, which is nice. But it's like, man, you just get racked down with all this debt. There's no guarantee. It's just really a piece of paper that said you went and did something. And so many people, like, they're trying to figure themselves out while they're in school. And like, that's not the place to figure yourself out. Like, you can go figure yourself out in the real world. You don't need to, you can go make money instead of taking on debt while you're trying to figure yourself out. And then once you have yourself figured out, if you want to go to school and be a doctor or a lawyer or something that you absolutely need it, then for sure do that. But
Dude,
it's just,
I mean, and it again, it comes down to application. I mean, it knowledge is great if you're using it and applying it, right? So so you okay, so when I said, did you go all the way through, that's what I meant. Did you go all the way through college? So you graduated college?
Yeah, man. I graduated, got my my undergrad in business administration.
Oops, sorry.
Dude, no, it was an easy comp out, dude, because I went for physical therapy and athletic training. And when I had my son, I kind of went back and forth. I went pre-med and then went back to athletic training. And then you needed like 1,600 hours of observation time. And that just didn't fit in my schedule with having a kid and everything.
Yeah.
So like, I just like, all right, man, well, I want to graduate in 4 years and business is easy. So let me do business. So I got that business degree. I actually got married while I was in school to my high school sweetheart. And that's who I had my kid with, or my two kids with.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated, we actually moved to San Antonio for about a year, and just kind of wanted to come back to St. Louis. We ended up moving back so that way I could pursue fighting professionally. And like this was home, so we just kind of wanted to be back here. I'm sorry, what was your question? Oh yeah, you're asking me what I did after school. Yeah. So I did that, man. When we moved back, I was pursuing fighting full time, but I still had to like work, and I had 2 kids and a wife, and I had to do all that. So I got a security job overnight, working 3rd shift, which from a learning perspective is actually one of the greatest experiences for me.
So a security job, like
a rent-a-cop security.
Oh wow!
Yeah, man.
Wow.
I just needed a job real quick, man. So I got what I could, and honestly, man, it was at that time. This was 2011, man. Like, I think people were hard on jobs at the time. Like, it's not like everybody was hiring. And then when you're a young, recently college grad, like, what the hell does that mean to anybody? That doesn't mean shit to anybody.
Right.
So I just got what I could, and it was a cool experience working 3rd shift because I read a ton, and it taught me, one, I gained the value of I learned to love reading, and I gained just the appreciation for just like teaching yourself. And I was reading like a book like every 3 days, and just like I crushed probably like 80 books in like 9 months. And then after that, I went into the corporate world, and I worked for a pretty big company called Express Scripts. They're like a Fortune like 20 company or something like that within like the health space.
Yeah.
Like the pharmaceutical space. And man, like I did that for like a little over 5.5 years. I was there. While I was there, I ended up getting my master's in healthcare administration, and just thinking like, I'm just going to go this whole corporate 9-to-5 thing. And like, I was a project manager whenever I left there, and just kind of crushing it in that space. But I was so miserable and unhappy. And like, I just hated every second of it.
But and by the way, Shelly Meredith?
Yeah, it's my mom.
Is that your mom?
Oh, yeah. I just read what that comment said.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about what Shelly just said, your mom. So you graduated with a master's degree, a 4.0, and you're working 3rd shift.
Well, whenever I got my master's degree, I was at Express Scripts at this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't 3rd shift at this time. I was doing a whole bunch of project management work. I was still fighting full time and working.
Still fighting.
Yeah.
I want you to explain what that means to people that don't understand, like what still fighting means. Because, like, dude, like,
this is why
it wasn't like the back alley stuff. This is serious stuff.
Yeah, man. Like, this is why I actually have a really hard time with sympathy for people, because like, just save the excuses and just do the work. Right. I mean, I'm working a 40-hour-a-week job, and actually at this stage in my life, because I feel like I'm talking really fast and kind of moving fast along the timeline.
No.
But at this stage of my life, I've been at Express Scripts for a little bit. I actually separated from my ex-wife, and we're getting divorced. So during that time of separation and going through the divorce, like, that's when I decided I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of like go back to school and get my master's, because I don't know, I operate best when I have a lot going on. I just do. And school's always been pretty easy, and it was familiar. So like, I go back to school, and I get my master's degree, and like, I'm working full time, and I'm, so at that point I'm a single parent. So I only have my kids like half the time. And so I'm kind of working this whole custody thing out. And that's just kind of its own challenge in itself. But yeah, I'm also fighting at that time professionally. So, I mean, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd go for a run, you know, have my coffee in the morning and food and stuff, and I'd go to work the 9 to 5, get off of work, you know, spend some time with the kids. But a lot of times I'd pick up the kids and take them to the gym with me. Like they've grown up in the gym. You know,
Yeah.
I go straight to the gym, and you know, I'm there for 2, sometimes 3 hours, just depending on the day. And
Wow.
then, you know, get off of you know, training, go home, do homework, then go to sleep and kind of repeat. So
Wow,
if I had
man.
class in there, I'd skip, you know, practice and go to class. But class was just 1 day a week. It was like it was an accelerated program. It was like 1 day a week, 4 hours a night when we did it, and it was like a month or it was like a year and a half program
For the masters.
for the masters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was, yeah.
So and when you say that you're fighting, you're going to the gym, you're training at the gym, you're talking about training for cage fighting.
Yeah, MMA, man. And well, here's the thing. At my gym, we do a little bit of everything. So even whenever I was an amateur, my coach always made sure that we did everything, because in MMA, mixed martial arts, it's a little bit of everything. So I've taken pro boxing, I've taken pro kickboxing, but mostly it was focused on you know, pro MMA. So that was the focus. But yeah, man, you know, you do everything. You do jujitsu, and you do your kickboxing and Muay Thai training. You do your wrestling. You do your strength and conditioning work. Like you try to get all these, you know, the pieces of the puzzle to fit right and just make it work. So yeah, I'm doing all that stuff.
Wow. Now, are you and this was in, you said 2011, is that right? Around there?
2011. That's when. So 2011 is whenever I moved back to.
Okay.
I moved
St.
back
Louis.
to St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this time is probably around like 2000. We're talking like 2013 to
Okay.
2016, 17, 18. When I stopped fighting, 2018, I think was my last fight.
So that, okay, I was going to ask if you're still fighting.
No, it's been 2.5. It'll be 3 years actually this summer. So it's been about 2.5 years. You know, man, I had a really great year. I went on a tear. You know, I think I had like 5 wins. I think all finishes. I was doing really well. I had a big win on Bellator, which is a really big organization. They were talking about signing me to a multi-fight deal. I get right back to training after that fight, and dude, I blew out my shoulder. Had to go get shoulder surgery to repair my labrum and rotator cuff, and that just kind of sent me on a you know, a path of recovery, which took me about a year until I could fight again. And you know, by the time I fought again, you know, physically I was there, and I kept trying to convince myself I still wanted to do it, but like something just changed mentally. Like I just didn't want it anymore. You know, I had 2 fights after my surgery, and I was winning both of them, and I ended up losing them both. And I mean, respect to both of those guys, you know, but it was a very real learning lesson that, you know, you have to want it, and if your mind isn't in it, it's not enough, you know, because when things get hard, whether it's fighting or in entrepreneurship or just anywhere in life, dude, like when things get hard, if you don't mentally have what it takes, if you're not mentally strong enough, like you're gonna quit. You know what I mean? You're gonna throw in the chips. You're not gonna push through. And you know, I just didn't mentally want it anymore. So it was just kind of to a point to where it's like, man, physically I can do this. I know I can, but just like mentally, I just don't want to do it anymore. So I just decided to stop fighting. I still train jujitsu, and I still work with some fighters and do things like that. But competition is just kind of behind me at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, man, everything has its, you know, everything.
Well, I started worrying about my brain a whole lot too. I mean, you know, once you start, you can't think about your own safety when it comes to getting in the cage. You know what I mean? You got to put that to the side, because something's going to happen. Like you're going to kick something or hit something, or even the cleanest fights, the next day I still am sore for something. It's like, man, did I really get hit there? I don't even remember getting hit. It just happens. So the more I started learning about, you know, CTE and TBI and just all the different things with the brain, I just started worrying about my brain too much. I'm like, it's just not worth it, the long-term consequences.
Yeah. So talk about, you know, the first time because you weren't like now you said you're a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, right? Which is, again, we have a mutual friend we talked about, Adam Marburger.
Yeah, shout out Adam.
And, yeah, but he, he put out a post about how difficult it is to get the different belt levels. Black belts like 0.01% of the world or something crazy, right? Or
I don't know how accurate those percentages are, but yeah, it's super difficult, and it's not a martial art where belts are just handed out. There's only 5, so you go from white to blue to purple to brown to black.
Yeah.
And with each of those belts, there's like 4 degrees where you get a stripe. So 4 stripes and then to the next belt. And yeah, man, a lot of people, they get to blue belt and then they quit, and then it's just even less as you go up the ranks. And it takes, on average, everybody's a little bit different, depends on their journey, but you're typically looking between 8 and 12 years, more typically 10 to 12 mark for a lot of people to reach black belt status. It takes quite a bit of time and dedication.
Wow. And so talk about the very first time you stepped into the cage. I mean, because dude, that's got to be like, oh my god.
Oh man, the very first time,
crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. The one thing that did help me was the fact that I wrestled for so long. So there's some parallels there, right? It's just you and another guy. Just in there, like in wrestling, it's a mat, and fighting, it's a cage. So there was a little bit of that. So I kept trying to tell myself over and over, like, all right, man, you've done something like this before. You've already, you know what I mean? It just is what it is. You try to talk yourself up. But when I first started fighting, my first 4 fights, I was an independent fighter. So I had no gym. I wasn't actually, like, currently I train at St. Charles MMA. And we have a ton of great fighters there. But at that time, I was by myself. I worked with like a wrestler or 2 that I knew at Lindenwood. And I just worked out a lot, and I watched a lot of UFC and kind of studied that as tape.
Wow.
And yeah, man, my first 4 fights, I was an independent fighter. So I had no coach. I had no gym. It was just, me and I had a couple buddies. They were my cornermen. And my very first fight, man, it was actually a kind of a crazy experience. And the guy I was supposed to fight, I think he was like 0-1, and this is my debut. So like, similar, experience.
Yeah.
And I think a day or 2 before the fight, they switched my opponent, and it was whoever the fight organization was, is like their champion. And this guy had already had like 7 or 8 fights. So I get in there, and like, opening 30 seconds, this guy was a southpaw. He throws a straight left hand just right down the pipe, breaks my nose, snaps my head back. Yeah, like,
oh no.
I immediately go into autopilot, and I just shoot. I just go into wrestling, and I shoot, and I take him down. And I try to get mount. He like pushes me off and like takes my back and like hits me quite a few times. I just remember thinking like, oh, like shit, they're gonna stop this. I didn't want them to. So like I stood up, and we got to the fight, and then from there, it was just kind of a one-sided fight where it was just me kind of taking him down and controlling the fight, and I ended up winning the decision.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, there's blood everywhere. It was chaos.
Your nose is broken.
Yeah, dude, it was insane. I just remember my head snapping back, and then I don't remember anything. It just all happened so fast. I've just seen the video several times, so I kind of, it helps with the memory. But
yeah,
it was intense, man. Everything happened a lot faster than I anticipated, and he was a really good fighter. I was happy to get that win. I actually ended up fighting him again like 2 fights later, so I could actually take his belt, and I submitted him in like a minute and a half. And this was still whenever I was independent. So it was a good test and a good challenge. I was like, man, I can't believe they just switched my opponent. But dude, you don't. It doesn't matter what happens. It just matters how you react.
Dude, I saw a YouTube video of you. You put somebody in what's called an arm bar or something.
Oh, an arm bar?
Yeah. And you won the fight, obviously. And the guy, it looked like you snapped his freaking elbow, dude. Like, it looked bad. Really bad.
Yeah.
And he laid there. It looked like he was crying.
I remember that fight, dude.
Do you remember it?
I was losing that round, man.
Yes,
yeah.
you were.
That was against Manny Mraz, dude. That dude's tough as nails, man. Yeah, early in the first round, I don't know what happened. We were on the cage, and he just hit me with like a real short shot, but like his knuckle must have got right in my eye in the right spot, because my eye swelled shut.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like I couldn't see. I think it was my right eye. It might have been my left. I can't remember which eye, but my eye was swollen shut, and it just hurt so bad. I won the first round, but like when you're in a fight or just anything, the thing that screws most people up, like what will make you the most tired and it will just take you out of your game, is when you start to panic. So I got hit in the eye and it hurt so bad. All I did was focus on that. And I started to panic. Like I was just too tense because of that. And I gassed out. I was super tired in that second round. So my eye's swollen shut. I'm tired. He comes out. He hits me right in the eye, like the first 5 seconds of that round. And then we end up like going to the ground. And so, yeah, he's beating me like that whole round. I mean, he's just on top. He's controlling, not doing a ton of damage, but landing a couple shots. And he just left his arms out there, man. So I took those things. I'm like,
you see what your mom said? He said, I watched the arm snap.
Yeah.
So in that moment though, because, you know, I've been in business for a long time, 30 years. I've owned different companies and, you know, things sometimes I can kind of relate to, you know, it feels like you're in a cage fight, man, like sometimes in business. Cause like,
yeah,
you feel that panic, like, oh shit, everything's going sideways. And you've got to get focused on what you want to accomplish and not what's going wrong, is kind of what you just said.
Yeah, 100%. Like the lesson is the same, right? It's like, let me refocus myself, like put my attention on what I can control and just do something, like take the next step. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether it's in a business plan, it's just making that phone call, or in a fight, it's like, let me just close the space and just get a second to breathe and just kind of gather myself before taking the next move.
And in that particular fight, I'm trying to remember, but it was kind of like this fluid single motion of you kind of taking the dude down at the same time you were putting him in an arm bar. And it looked painful for him. I mean, it looked really painful.
I was pretty shocked that I even got it. We were both very slippery, and when you're that late in a fight and you're all sweaty and wet, it can be hard to lock in submission. But he just gave me both of his arms. He tried to do what's called a can opener, where you grab like both arms behind the neck and kind of bend my neck to maybe open up my guard or something. But for me, I need your arms in that position for an arm bar. So I just remember thinking, like, I can't believe he's giving me this. And I just went for it with everything. I just committed. Like that's like, you have to commit, right? And I fully committed,
right?
And I just hit it. And I was like, hell yeah, man. And he tried to like step on my face and stack me. And then that's whenever we kind of went over. But it was a challenging fight. Those are some of the best though, because you really learn about yourself in those moments. Like, what are you about? Like, are you going to quit? Are you going to push through? Like, because when things get hard, what are you going to do? How are you going to react? Like, those are very honest moments.
Yeah. How many, I'm sure that you have, you've worked with or trained, have you trained other fighters? I'm sure you teach it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I teach jujitsu. I work with a lot of different fighters. We have a lot of high level fighters at the gym.
Yeah.
I do health coaching and movement coaching, and so I'm always, coaching these guys and helping them with kind of wherever I can and whatever aspect they need it in for their camp.
How many, there's a lot of people talking about that we're in a generation of people that are kind of just expecting success or expecting things to go perfect for them. And I think that being in the position you're in, you probably see that up closer than a lot of people would.
That's kind of something you see in the martial arts realm a lot, especially in jiu-jitsu. We always like to say, train without expectations, because it can take so long to get some of these belts and these promotions, and there's no one path for everybody. Some people progress really quickly, and some people take a long time. And I've been helping with kids class for quite some time, and that's actually made my game a lot better. And it's helped me be a better teacher, because you have to break everything down so simply and help them, and they're little people too. And it's the same thing whether it's an adult or it's a kid. Like, you want that next stripe, you want that next belt. And it's like, hey man, just slow down and trust the process, because everything takes time. And I think that's why jujitsu is just such a great like parallel to the success journey, because you're doing all this work, and I mean, you'll get little successes along the way where those are like the stripes, or like you'll level up, or maybe that's your next belt. But maybe you got a little bit better, but you're still not black belt status, right? Like, we all know, like there's people that are black belt level in business, and there's surely white belts in business, and everywhere in between. You know what I mean? So yeah,
what about the do you get kids in, or younger, not necessarily kids, but that have that entitlement, like, hey, I'm here to get my black belt and I deserve it? Do you get that?
Well, dude, yeah, man, you get them, they come in, they feel like just because I showed up to X amount of classes, now I need to, well, where's my promotion at? Like, I need to, but it's like, no, like, that's a part of it. Showing up is a part of it, but you have to do more than just show up.
And it takes time.
Yeah, patience is the biggest thing, man. Like, it just takes time. You just have to trust the process.
It does, man. It does. So you tell everybody kind of, I guess, what you're doing now. Like, what's your full-time gig? I know you've got the podcast. You and I have that in common. We both have interviewed Andy Frisella. What an unbelievable dude he is, man.
Yeah, Andy's a cool human. I've known him for so long, since I worked at his companies. Whenever I was an undergrad in 2009, 2010, I worked for his Supplement Superstore brand. So yeah, I've known those guys for a long time, and yeah, they're doing a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, man, I kind of do a little bit of everything. It's kind of weird since I left like the actual corporate space, and just do my own thing now. And I do a lot of like some health coaching and some movement coaching. The podcast is kind of my primary like that's the thing I'm working on the most, like building that platform, building that community, connecting with people. But I also do like photography and some social media work. Just kind of a little bit of everything, man. I do have a brand called Imposed Will, which is a lifestyle mindset brand. We have some apparel, and the idea behind that is just, we're eventually start doing a coaching program and just helping people, realize, like the mind is the key, and like mental strength, will take you so far in life, and just imposing your will on life. Just, always want to help people impose their will on life. And I just really believe that, the words "I will" are so powerful. And if you choose to do something, and you make that mental commitment, you can, man, like the sky it really is the limit. I mean, actually the whole fucking universe is the limit. Like, you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, man. It all starts with the mind, though.
I totally agree. So the people that because I've been there. I was telling somebody yesterday, actually, I had one time years ago, I had a bunch of employees, and one of my guys walks in and says, hey boss, there's some dude looking in the windows of your SUV out in the parking lot. And I go, well, tell him to get the hell out of here. What do you? He's like, well, he's blocking it with his tow truck. I'm like, whoa, what?
Should have led with that one.
Yeah. So he's there to repo my stuff, right? And so you get into when things start going really wrong, and I've been there, man, and I'm sure you have, where things are just not panning out, and it's like, how do you get yourself from that oh shit panic mode, which, if you stay there, it's just going to spiral out of control, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get yourself out of that mindset into the I got this, man. I'm going to make this work. How do you get there? Where's the shift for you?
Man, for me, I always just try to, so it always, I'm really big into breath work. So I'll always kind of start with like, you know, tapping into breath work to kind of like ease my, like to switch off my sympathetic nervous system and kind of go more in that parasympathetic, kind of calm down.
Yeah.
But then I always just try to remove myself from the situation. And I always have these two thoughts. Like one, like, are you going to die from this, like physically? Like, this is not, like, you're not going to die. All right, so like that always kind of puts me at ease. Like, all right, well, this isn't going to actually physically kill me, so you're going to be good there, so you can just chill out. Like, you're not going to die, you're in no real danger. And then always try to keep in perspective of how long life is. I'm like, dude, life is long. Like, this is, you can have a completely brand new life within 5 years or less. Like, if you put in the work and you just have the patience, like 5 years isn't that long. So always just try to keep things in perspective of, like, this is very temporary. And I always tell myself, like, everything's temporary, whether that's 1 hour or 1 month or 1 year. Eventually, think like the tide will change. So I always just keep in mind that, you know, this isn't going to last. So I always just kind of remove myself. I always just try to work in the space of like not getting wrapped up in everything that's happening right in front of me, because then it becomes all consuming. So I
Yeah.
just kind of tap into the breath and I just try to remove myself from the situation and just put it back into perspective.
When you say tap into the breath, explain what that means. What do you mean by that?
Well, man, breath work is so powerful, and you can do so much with it. Whether it's like a Wim Hof type breathing, where you're like in a hyperoxygenated state, or you're trying to like slow down your heart rate, like with longer, slower draws of breath. So many people, they do like what's called shallow breathing. Like they don't think about their breath work, and they're not really taking full deep breaths. So
Yeah.
like oftentimes, man, like you'll hear me, I just out of nowhere, I'll just take a big deep like just like out, just out of nowhere, I'll do that because like I'm just trying to just be present and connected with that, because there is so much power to your breath work. I mean,
Yeah.
Wim Hof, for example, he's done things that are just unbelievable. He's done things like tap into his immune system and fight off viruses. I mean, he's held his breath for an ungodly amount of time. He's climbed Mount Everest without any oxygen, ran a marathon in the desert with no water, just through breath work. Tapping into these powerful states of being that we all are capable of. It's just whether or not you want to like take that time and kind of sit and be still with yourself and really tap into your own power. We're very powerful beings. You know what I mean? Like the mind is powerful, the spirit is powerful, and there's just not many people want to take that time to just check in with themselves and tap into their true potential.
Look who just
look at Adam. Yeah.
He is a trip, man. I love
that guy.
I know. So, and I love that, man. I've actually meditated every single day of my life, every morning of my life for the last 16 years. So,
nice.
Yeah, I love that. I focus a lot on my breath and didn't even realize that there was like science behind it.
Yeah, that's the cool thing, man. Like all the stuff that's kind of like woo woo, like we're learning through science that there's actual it's being validated through science, which I always kind of juggle with that. Like, do we actually need the scientific validation? Some people really do, but it's worked for so long, these different practices, man. We just know they do.
Yeah. So I have a question. It's just kind of off the cuff, and since we have Adam Marburger on here, so you in a match against Ronda Rousey, who wins?
Against Ronda Rousey in a fight?
Yeah.
Oh, me.
You? Oh wow! I love your confidence.
I'm a whole lot bigger than Ronda Rousey.
Are you?
Oh yeah, she's not that big. I think she fought
she looks like a pretty big woman.
I'm sure she is. I'm sure she's really good at judo, but I mean,
you said me.
I'm just being honest.
Even Adam Marburger says you win. So I had to throw that out there. I've been for a while. So, dude, for somebody right now that's Two questions, and I ask every guest these questions. Number one, what is it that you think holds most people back in life? Like, if look, there are people and that go through life that never come close to achieving anything massive. No, they really don't know how to set goals, maybe, or they, what is it that you think is holding people back from going for it, man?
Man, that's such an excellent question. It's like it's almost like a combination of things, but I think the overarching thing is that like mediocrity and average is rewarded. You know what I mean? Like it's not rewarded to step outside of the norm. Like we all admire those people that do, but your whole life when you're going through school, at least for me here in the Midwest, it was taught, you go to school and you get your degree and then you go
Yeah.
get that corporate 9 to 5 and you buy a house and you have kids and you're just the whole system is set up to create workers. It was originally factory workers and now it's corporate workers. And the whole system isn't really set up for that. And I think that so many people, they just settle because that's all they were ever taught. And they're not really encouraged. And when we're young, we're told you can be whatever it is that you want to be. And then
Right.
you get older and it's like, hey, you need to get your head out of the clouds, Tim. Like you need to figure out what you're going to do. Like, what are you going to do with your whole life? And, oh, you're 18, your brain isn't even fully formed, right? It's not even fully developed, but we tell these kids that you need to figure out what you want to do with your whole life. And if you don't know, then guess what? You're a loser.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, man, they feel lost and they just go to the first thing that's comfortable. And, as humans, we like, the path of least resistance. Like that's what we like to take. And I think just, it's kind of like this unfortunate, like just perfect storm of outside pressure and maybe just not knowing what you want to do and just feeling lost that people just settle and they just take the average route. You know what I mean? Like maybe they just don't have the belief in them. I think a lot of people, and this is something I struggled with a lot for a long time, is you're looking for permission, from as a kid, your whole life, you have to get permission for everything. And then one day, guess what? You don't need permission anymore. You can go do it. Like it's up to you. There's no manual. We're all out here just trying to figure this out. And I think some people just don't have that belief, dude. So they just settle and take what's comfortable.
When I asked Andy, I'm like, dude, what that insane, almost insatiable desire that Andy Frisella has for just accomplishing massive things. I said, where does that drive come from? And he said, honestly, it's because I was bullied so much as a kid. And like, and I think about that, man. I think, that because that happened to me, I got picked on a lot too, and so it's something that I think, and I forget who said it, Shakespeare or something, but the greatest disservice we do to our children is to steal away their hunger, right? Giving a kid everything they want and not making them work for it or so, so I think that you and me and other people that have been brought up in a really, really poor household, like I was, you said you were it was an almost poor environment.
Yeah.
That's an advantage when it comes to life.
Yeah, 100%, man. I realize that you don't need nearly as much to live as what people might think. And like, there's always a way to make it happen, dude. Like, you just figure it out. Like, you can't feel sorry for yourself. That's one thing. I do not condone victimhood. Like you cannot be a victim. I've never been a victim. That's one thing that I don't, my mom has never taught me to be a victim. Like we were never victims. Like we always just figured it out.
Dude, that's awesome. Sounds like you have one incredible mother. So somebody that's going through the crap right now, maybe their car just got repoed, their electric's getting turned off tomorrow. They call you up and they're like, dude, I don't know what to do, man. It's just all hitting the fan. Shit is going bad and I don't know what to do. What's the next? What do you tell them? What do you say to that person?
Dude, that'd be that's a
You're
heavy
like, meet me in the cage.
that's a heavy question, dude. I'm like, well, let's go roll a joint or something. we
Come
gotta
on, man.
we
Yeah,
gotta
but like
no
seriously, man,
yeah,
when
man, dude, I just when people because I've felt I've been in that place to where I feel like there's just no more hope and like what's it all worth? Like none of it even matters. So I can totally understand that. I just try to implore people just to keep in mind that again life is long and like this isn't the end and I think to like one of your points like you can learn a lot from your pain and you can turn that into profit like that can become your purpose your pain can become your purpose right and
yeah,
like you can take that hard lesson and learn something from it, man. I'm not I don't know if I'm one of those guys that believes like everything happens for a reason. I think that things just happen sometimes, no rhyme or reason. But that
right.
doesn't mean you can't take something good from it. You can't try to find that silver lining or try to find the lesson because you can either let it break you or it's going to make you stronger. Like those are your only two options. And if you got through it and you survived, then you got a little bit stronger. So I just try to, I would just tell those, tell that person, just know that, hey man, life is long and like this isn't your final destination and you can turn this into like your greatest comeback story ever. You know what I mean? We all have a story, to your point, and you can use this to your advantage and you can help some other people along the way, like through your struggle right now.
Yeah. And I love that answer, dude. I think that, and you're gonna have, it's like Mike Tyson's quote of everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face,
So
right?
true, man.
Right.
So true.
But hey, Buster Douglas managed to follow through. So the one guy that whooped Tyson. So I mean, here's the thing, man. It's like that. You're gonna get punched in the face. It
Without a
doesn't
doubt.
matter where you are, but so many people fall into that and stay there, man, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Well,
then live the rest of their lives like this, scared.
yeah, I think like, and this is something I'm sure you come across in the corporate world. We want to frame everything in such a positive way. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, how can we take this bad news and say it in a positive way so it doesn't sound bad? It's like sometimes bad things happen, and sometimes it just is what it is. Like not
Right.
everything in life is positive. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you have to take the good with the bad, and
Right.
just you can't feel sorry for yourself and be a victim. You just gotta keep pushing. I think so many people feel like everything is supposed to be good. Everything's always supposed to be positive. We live in such an instant gratification culture where if you're sad, we just, give you an SSRI or like, here, take this pill.
Yeah.
And, but why can't you be sad? Like you learn from struggle, you learn from pain. Those are life's greatest teachers. So why would you not embrace those and grow through them?
Dude, that's the truth, man. You're speaking the truth. I literally, I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old, and my 9-year-old was talking about some kid bullying some girl at school, and they're in the 4th grade. And I'm like, that didn't, like, the word bullying, I don't even think existed when I was in school. Like if somebody messed with you, you punched them in the face.
Yeah, dude. Like,
like
I tell that to my kids all the time. I'm like, no, the kids are assholes. People don't like they are. They're narcissistic little jerks. And sometimes kids act like assholes. Like I was bullied a lot whenever I was a kid. I was picked on a lot as a kid. Like I was a fat kid. I grew up overweight.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Like I didn't lean out until like later in high school when I started doing sports. Like I grew like 13 inches in the summer. Wow. And I just started doing a whole bunch of sports, but I was always very athletic, but I was very overweight. And I can remember in middle school, especially whenever I was the new kid in Jeff City, I'm overweight. I'm probably a little bit more country than everybody else. I had like a bowl cut. I got picked on all the time, man. Like people made fun of me and picked on me all the time. It's like, man, in my mind, these kids were just being jerks. I never went home to my mom crying saying that I'm being bullied and I hate my life. Like you stand up for yourself, and if someone's talking shit, you talk shit back. Like,
yeah. And I just don't, I don't understand what's happening with our society. Our kids are I mean, again, I'm not saying it was the right thing. I don't know. I mean, you just worked it out. You figured
Right.
it out. You didn't. And yeah, there were plenty of there's plenty of I mean, the subtitle of my book is Turning Pain into Profit. It's Walls of Wisdom, Turning Pain into Profit, right? So it's like, dude, you're going to have pain. And what I love about you is you intentionally subject yourself to pain, like big time pain, not just like, you know, and yes, I know a broken nose heals, but it hurts like hell for a long time.
It doesn't feel good, man. Yeah, I don't take the easy route ever. I'm always trying to take like the pain, like the path of most resistance.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's freaking amazing. So, dude, tell everybody what your what's happening in the near future, man. What do you got going, man? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
5 years from now. I mean, so again, like I'm really like focused so hard on this podcast and just building that platform and brand. Just continuing to, you know, have like just great, you know, conversations and just create a good experience for both, you know, my guests and the listeners, and just grow that, dude. Like my goal is to definitely, you know, top the fucking charts with that and just touch as many lives as I can. But also there's going to be some like live events here in the future, and then just some different partnerships. But man, all I know is like there's a couple other projects I'm working on, but like my overarching goal is just to build an exceptional life and to live the life that I want to live, and how by any means necessary. So, I mean, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I got to do to get there, and I'm going to win. You know what I mean? So
love it.
Like, that's what I'm working towards, is just to build that life, dude.
I love it, dude. I love it. Well, man, I really appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on. Where can everybody follow you? Where's the best place?
Yeah, dude. So people can check me out. Probably the best place would be Instagram. I actually put it on my thing here. If people can see my name, just so it'd be easy for them. But so at Adam Meredith _, they can check me out there, or check out the podcast, which is Outside Perspective _podcast. And then head over to the website. So outsideperspectivepodcast.com. They can hop on our mailing list and stay up to date with, you know, if episodes are dropping or exclusive content, and just kind of stay in the know what's going on over there. But that's probably the best place to check me out.
Let me pop our names up here. There you go. Oh. Adam Meredith _. Sorry, I had that hidden.
All good.
Yeah, so that's where you follow Adam on Instagram, is at Adam Meredith _.
That is it.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. You are a badass, man. And I don't just mean in the physical sense. Like you've got that, man. That's and more importantly, you've got that heart.
I'm trying, dude. Hey, Ken, dude, I really appreciate you like having me on the show, man. It's been an honor. This has been a great conversation.
It's been awesome, man. So I look forward to what you've got coming, man. I think you got some amazing things coming for you, man.
Working, man. Just again, just trying to build a community and just try to make some stuff happen, man. I don't pretend to have all the answers or know exactly what I'm doing. Sometimes I feel like I'm just trying to figure this out. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. Hey, man, I think there's plenty of 90-year-olds that could say that.
Yeah. So we got some good stuff in the works. I'm excited to see what happens.
Awesome, dude. Well, anything I can do to help you, you let me know. Thank you guys, everyone, for being on here. Your mother says you've made her a better person, dude.
That's thanks, awesome. Mom. Again, thanks again so much, man. Well, definitely, I got to make sure I get my way to Columbus so I can sit down with you and have you on the show.
That'd be awesome, dude. That'd be awesome.
That'd be great.
Don't hang up on me. Don't hang up, but I am going to end the live stream. And thank you guys. Appreciate all of you. And we will see you later. Adam, thanks again, brother.
Thanks, Ken.